tardes, mi gente. First of all, let me tell you, man, what an unfriendly keto lunch. Right now, I've got two obsessions, Donald Trump and carbs. So, one of them could kill me. So, thank you, LULAC. Thank you, LULAC. Thank you, LULAC. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for what you are. Thank you for the length of time you've been doing it. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for continuing the fight. Thank you for leading the way. I hadn't been in Arizona in a while, but now that Joe Arpaio isn't sheriff, he dresses so tacky too, you know? I mean, like, have you seen him on TV? I mean, really, what are you doing with, when? Anyways, I was feeling a little nostalgic coming back here because I hadn't been here in about, about probably 13 months. And the last time I was here, I was walking through the airport and I ran into John Mccain, who's a very good friend and mentor. And it reminded me today as I was thinking of him that, life is short, it's fleeting, it can change dramatically at any moment. So it's important for all of us to live fully and intensely and try to make a difference in the time that we have here. All right, so I have got to tell you, what a bunch of beautiful women have been on stage. I mean, the bad hombres haven't been bad either, but the anchor baby women on this stage, qué lindas están. All right, folks, I've got limited time. I don't see a clock anywhere, so I don't know what I'm going to do about keeping on time. Somebody better bring a hook out. But I want to get right to the point. We need to talk about all the crap that is happening around us. We need to talk about all the crap that is happening to our community. And if you are a Trump supporter, you're in the wrong room. The Russian spy support group is on the other side of the street. I don't know if there's any, of my Cuban American friends here, if there's 5 Cuban Americans in the room who may be here. If you voted for Trump because he pretended to be for the embargo after he tried to build and open a golf course there, I promise you I will make it up by bashing Castro at some point. And don't worry, I would never compare Trump to a dictatorial strongman who tramples on democratic values, puts his family in power, uses government to enrich himself, tries to stifle the free press, gets elected through compromised elections, and is a tool of the Kremlin. Nah. We're never gonna compare him to that. So, just to be a little on the light, and you guys are gonna think I'm making this up, I know you are. So I was in Chicago giving a speech, and they had a translator on the stage, a sign translator. Do you guys know what the sign for Trump is? Les juro por Dios que esto no es invento. I got other signs I like to use for him, but I won't today. So back to the serious stuff. President Loco has adopted a divide and conquer strategy. He pits one group of people against the other. It worked for him during the campaign. It's exactly what he did the first moment that he began campaigning. Oh, they just put a clock up for me. Thanks, Cindy. And he has shown no desire to change as president. I have some friends who voted for Trump. Actually, some of them are former friends now. Not because of me. I don't make my friends pass political litmus tests. I do make them pass basic intelligence tests, y tú sabes. But I do think it's stupid to define relationships through political agreement. It can't be the basis of relationships, except for the man you sleep with. That part is important. I mean, really, if he voted for Trump, he'd be sleeping on the couch in the rain. But this, this political cycle brought out something, and it's not just on the right, it's also on the left, where it's just become impossible to have civil discourse. It's become impossible to have civil disagreement. Believe me, I know. I was on The View yesterday. And let me say this clearly. People who voted for Trump, including Hispanics who voted for him, because so many reasons, right? Maybe they wanted a conservative Supreme Court because they didn't want a career politician, because of loyalty to their party, because they didn't like the alternative, because they felt taken for granted, because they wanted to control our borders, because they thought voting for an orange guy was a step closer to voting for a brown one. The people who voted for him, at least not all of them, they are not deplorable. We must respect people's rights to make their own choice and exercise their right to vote as they deem best. And I urge you not to question people's motives or patriotism or take away their Hispanic card because of who they voted for or who they support, except Ted Cruz. Anybody here from Texas? So you guys know Ted Cruz is half Hispanic. I'm still wondering which half. Obviously, the one that doesn't include his heart. His father is a Cuban immigrant who achieved the American dream, but Ted Cruz has done nothing, nada, ni un carajo, to help anybody else achieve the American dream. He's done nothing for the dreamers, so many of whom live in his state. And did you guys hear, I just love this, so in the event you haven't heard it, you must. Did you guys hear that, there's this guy named Beto O'Rourke who's running against Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz attacked Robert, who now calls himself Beto O'Rourke, for changing his name in order to fit in. Rafael Ted Cruz is attacking somebody for changing their name in order to fit in. I don't know, man, but that's like as crazy as, Donald Trump attacking Bill Clinton for having a stormy personal life. Do you guys remember, ustedes se acuerdan when, Latino men had a bad reputation as mujeriego? Man, it turns out these white guys are worse. It's just they've gotten away with it. So anyways, look, I've got no qualms, no problems, no reservations. No tengo pelos en la lengua para decir Donald Trump is deplorable. Because let me just, and a lot of my folks I know who know him tell me that that's not right, that he's not racist, that he's not deplorable, that what we see is not the real Trump. Well, let me tell you what I base it on. Calling Mexicans rapists and criminals is deplorable. Calling POWs losers is deplorable. Questioning a U.S.-born judge's impartiality because his parents were Mexican immigrants is deplorable. Kicking Hispanic anchors out of press conferences is deplorable. Making fun of a disabled person is deplorable. Boasting about sexual assault is deplorable. Not using your presidential bully pulpit to denounce acts of hate and bigotry is deplorable. Equating neo-Nazis with those that protest against them is deplorable. Not denouncing a domestic abuser who is working in your own White House is deplorable. Pardoning Joe Arpaio, a man who violated civil rights and who racially profiled against our community, is deplorable. Endorsing a pedophile candidate for the U.S. Senate is deplorable. Conducting ICE raids in churches is deplorable. Ending DACA and then not doing a damn thing to fix it for more than 8 months now. Leaving young people to live in fear and terror and angst is deplorable. Being a water boy for a murderous former KGB agent who meddled in the U.S. elections and is putting our entire democratic system in danger is deplorable. Tearing good, decent parents away from small children is deplorable. Putting little children in cages is deplorable. Mocking little Marco Rubio. Ay, no sé qué me pasó. I don't know how that one got in there. Ese es otro. Ya tú sabes. And this deplorable precedent has our community, among many others, under attack. Look, most of us here are going to be okay, right? We've got our voice, we've got citizenship, we've got rights, we've got status. We're parts of organizations that will defend us. Most of us here will be all right. But even if you have all your needs taken care of, even if you are not afraid, even if you're going to be okay, if our community is a target, every single one of us is a target. If core American values of unity and equality and fairness and basic decency are under attack, we are all under attack. When Trump demonizes immigrants, he's attacking all of us. Everybody that looks and sounds like an immigrant, except his wife. I really don't care, do you? De madre el asunto. So we have two choices right now. We can either ignore what's going on all around us, ignore the human suffering, ignore the fear, ignore the despair of our community. Or, we can choose to build a protective cocoon and wait for somebody to wake us up when this is over. Or we can fight back. Mi gente, lo siento mucho. Ignorant bliss, sitting on the bleachers, is not an option. You are part of this organization, an organization which has never sat in the bleachers, sat it out, which has always fought for our rights. So you know that what we have is that second option. We must fight back, and we must fight back together. Every dreamer who lives in fear of being kicked out of the country they love, the only life they know, needs us to fight back. The mother or father who can't sleep at night for fear they will be deported at any moment and have to leave their children to God knows what fate, they need us to fight back. When I think about that, and I think about what's happening with this child separation issue, the hypocrisy of it. Right now, I just refuse to be lectured about family values by people who support tearing immigrant families apart, and at the same time, defend a president who we have learned was having affairs with a porn actress and a Playboy bunny at the same time. Vaya, ni Clinton en sus buenos días. But the one silver lining to this Trump election is that something that had been asleep in America has awoken. The American spirit to defend our values, to defend the things that we care about, the things that unite us, it has awoken, and it is alive in each and every one of us. We saw it in the millions of women who marched in Washington and across the country the day after his swearing in. The very small one? Protests in London were way bigger than his swearing in. Man, if anybody can get me one of those Trump baby blimps, I'll pay anything. And hurry up before he imposes tariffs against them. We saw that wokeness in the thousands of people who showed up at airports to protest the Muslim ban. We see it in the women and men saying enough is enough through the Me Too movement. We see it in the students of Stoneman Douglas, teenagers, kids, young kids who have no fear about speaking truth to power and about taking their country back. We must claim our country back because whether some like it or not, whether some deny it or not, whether the President of the United States himself acknowledges it or not, this is our country. It is our country as much as anybody else's. Each one of us is as American as the descendants of those who came on the Mayflower. Do not ever let anyone tell you or treat you differently. Every immigrant who's come to this country, whether 300 years ago or 3 days ago, knows what our president does not know. America is a land of immigrants, including his own grandparents, and at least 2 of his 3 wives so far. Now, let me remind you, though, who among us are not immigrants? Los puertorriqueños, los boricuas no son inmigrantes, son ciudadanos americanos desde el día que nacen. And it is so important that Puerto Ricans who've moved to the mainland register to vote and then vote. There's no point to being here and having the right to vote if you then don't exercise it. And if you can, please register in Florida and go vote in Florida, because there you can actually make a difference as to who's going to be the next governor and the next senator, and how that state will go in a presidential election. We must lead. We must get loud. We must speak for those who are too afraid to speak. We must fight for the little children who still have not been reunited with their parents. And we must fight for the Puerto Ricans who get assaulted for wearing a shirt with a flag, or the women who get detained in Montana simply for speaking Spanish, or the restaurant workers who get berated by a crazy racist for speaking Spanish in Manhattan, or that 92-year-old Mexican-American man whose face got beat to a pulp with a brick and told to go back to his country. This is his country, damn it. Let me tell you this. So I'm going to ask you to do two things. One is to register to vote and to register those around you to vote. Two is, you know, it used to be don't leave home without the American Express. Don't leave home without your smartphones. If something happens to you or you see something happening to somebody else, tape it, record it, publish it, put it in social media, send it to me, scream it from the hills. Because lately, it feels to me like, you know those movies where like the monkey gets the keys to the jail and opens up every cell? It's like every cell has been open and every damn racist has been out there and is now legitimized and screaming at Hispanics or black people or anybody that doesn't look or sound like them. We must denounce injustice everywhere we see it. And that includes standing up for other minorities and other groups whose rights are under attack. Gay couples, Muslim people, Jewish folks. The hate crimes are rising in this country, and we must stick together with our African American brothers and sisters. You know, this is a luncheon for women. Do you know who kept Roy Moore, that pedophile, from becoming a U.S. Senator? The African American women of Alabama. There is a lot the Latin women, the Hispanic women, the Latinas can do if we unite and we engage and we vote. I want to end with a call to action. Inaction in the face of injustice is not an option. Fear is not an option. Indifference is not an option. Silence is not an option. We must rise. Levántense, exijan, demanding, channel all the anger, all the frustration we are feeling, channel it into votes. It is our right, it is our responsibility, and it is the one way we can get our country back. Thank you so very much.